Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the All Ladies League San Jose chapter. I'm happy that you are here. This is 2020, the new year, and we didn't have our meeting in January, so I wait until the February because February is what is about love. About Valentine, about love, and the love is for us, it's about self-care, self-love, right? And I like to invite you all, my guest today, Cathy, LeeAnn, and Janet, to share about what you are doing so that other women out there to be aware of the assets, the assets that they have, what they have in their life, on their hands, without any chemical added, without additional things added. They already have the resource that they have is already here within themselves, right? So it's timely that you all volunteered. You say, hey, I want to talk. I say, oh, sure. I try to figure out, I say, how does this work? How these topics gel together, but it works wonderful. So I hope that the listeners out there listen closely and take notes, because there's a lot of insight from these ladies, business entrepreneur, experts, and yeah, I hope that you will enjoy it. So let me briefly share with you about All Ladies League. All Ladies League. So basically, the founder of All Ladies League, her intention or her mission is to empower women in business around the world. So there's no no ethnicity differences. So she just promote women in business, and that is really, really inspiring. So that's why I volunteer. I step up to start this chapter. And a little bit about myself. My name is Kimchi Chow, and I'm the founder and CEO of my company, Asian Women of Power. And I empower Asian American women to speak up, show up, and stand up powerfully and confidently. And my host, Lisa Wong. Yes, please introduce yourself, Lisa.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm happy to be an honor to be the co-host of our All Ladies League meeting with Kimchi. I am, I have, I'm a vegan acupuncturist, and I run a nonprofit called Center for Healing by Design. So this is topic of self-care, self-love. It's my favorite one. So I'm really excited and so eager to learn from our guests today, and we will have fun.
Thank you. All right. So I'm going to go briefly through each of our special guests today, and then, we will dive deep to allow each guest to share what they do. So on my left is Cathy Knight. Cathy, say hello.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me, Kimchi. I'm really excited about the work that you do.
Thank you. Next is LeeAnn.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Kimchi, for having me here.
Thank you. And next is Janet.
Hey, Kimchi. It's good to be back.
Yay. Thank you. Welcome. All right. So let's dive in. So the first session is about LeeAnn's Mallorie work. So LeeAnn, share with us what has led you to do what you do.
Thanks for asking. Just in really brief, I'll say what I do, which is I help women tap into the wisdom of their bodies so that they can lead with more purpose, more power, more presence, as well as more resilience. And that kind of feels like a mouthful sometimes. Why I do what I do is because it's kind of related to what you said at the beginning around you already have the resources inside of you. I love that you started that way. I love that you framed this on self-love. So much of what I see, I do a lot of work in the corporate sector. So I tend to work in some cases with entrepreneurs, but also really with a lot of women who are still in inside of company jobs or in government jobs, even nonprofit jobs. And much of the culture in those places is that there's a certain right way to get things done. There's a way to do business. And often those ways were really built sort of structurally by men at some point in time. And what I tend to find is that as women, we're not always trusting ourselves or listening to what we know more deeply could be another way to do things that frankly could change the business in a powerful way. So some of the work that I do is focused around being able to listen deeply and build more resilience. And how do you then let your own decisions around that really ripple through the rest of your culture, even change culture in some cases. And then the rest of the work is much more kind of leadership, purpose. We see a lot of times that women will get either pigeonholed or siloed in a certain kind of place or role, but really the next level for them to be able to come through is bringing more of themselves forward in a way that they may have learned early in the career wasn't actually a good fit, but in fact to be an executive or to step up in some way really would be. And so there's a lot of almost like untraining, unlearning that I do with the folks that I work with.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So tell us the key, how to break the glass ceiling at work.
Such a big question. I brought it upon myself because I do give a talk that's called How to Break the Glass Ceiling. And also, I think the front of my book that I just recently released is called Guts and Grace, A Woman's Guide to Full Bodied Leadership. And the PS at the bottom is how to lead consciously, dissolve glass ceilings, and dismantle the patriarchy within. So I'm much more interested in what I would consider more like dissolving or disappearing what looks like a glass ceiling than like being the person to break through. And the way that I think about that is similar to what I already said, which is when we try to be more like we think we should be to break something, often that has a certain kind of limited shelf life. Like we get so far in doing that and then we find, okay, well that kind of worked, it kind of worked, and then it kind of didn't. And what I tend to find is that there's a moment that feels like a ceiling that in fact requires us to go even more deeply inside of ourselves and resource or re-bring forward often some of the things that we, let's say, left behind in some way earlier in our career. So kind of in a blanket way, I'll often say, like most women, if you check in with yourself, there may be things, pieces that you left behind, pieces that you either covered up or didn't think were that useful. Sometimes it's really the feminine stuff. So it might be the way that you're really sensitive, for example, or the fact that you, feel your emotions more, or the fact that you can see things in a different way, or really trust your intuition, for example. If you're not playing with those things, and you can check in with yourself even as I'm saying this, there might be an opportunity to quote unquote break or dissolve a glass ceiling by taking the leap to actually trust that those things could be influential in your leadership and could even at some point almost become your personal brand. Like if I'm willing to bring that forward and really let that strength be a real strength, then there's a little bit of a, let's say a moment of it gets wonky. Like, oh, I wasn't using that before. And then suddenly I start using that and people don't expect it, or I'm not really sure how to use it well. But on the other side of that learning curve, that can really become the thing that has it be that you start to find either the roles that are a really good fit for you or the next promotion or the next place to go.
So does that mean that be authentic with ourselves, right? We don't compare ourselves to another person, right?
Totally. And that expression is used so often that it's almost cliche. And so a lot of what I end up doing with folks is like, okay, yeah, I'm supposed to be authentic, but what the heck does that mean? And how do I do that? And do they really want me to be authentic? Because really I'm angry. And is that going to work out? Well, I mean, there's so many things around, like there's a lot of baggage around the like, be authentic at work. And I would say, yes, that is the answer. And then the question is more like, how do I actually practice that in a world where maybe I've gotten messages that authentic won't work or isn't the thing. And sometimes that actually looks like developing enough self-awareness that you have a little bit more calibration in how you use the parts of you that you want to bring authentically forward. And sometimes it's just like, hopefully this will make sense, but sometimes we use it partly and it causes wreckage. But if we use it all the way, it actually works. And so how do you learn the right amount of something that will get the results, and go through the process of, again, the learning curve of bringing that part of yourself forward, which is an act of self-love and an act of self-trust. And also it requires some practice.
Yes, I would say the practice is about the emotional intelligence, right? So we know, okay, we know that we are upset, we're really angry, we want to like kill somebody right now, right? But
that might be real.
It's not appropriate right now. So we need to be aware that that is the emotion and the feeling that we want to do. But we need to have intelligence to ask ourselves, is that the right thing to do right now? What would be the alternative option to do it appropriately at work, right? And things like that. So I would say what you recommend and what you teach other women is, to me is about the emotional intelligence, but it's deeper than that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great example, Kimchi, and if I can speak to it, because I think it illustrates where this work, like how it's different or where it lies, is like, so I get angry and then I've learned that that's not appropriate and I don't do that. But then how many of us to kind of go and stuff it or tuck it away somewhere inside and then just like manage? Or there's a lot of conversations in the workplace like manage your emotions. And we're not really sure what that means, but we make up that we think it means that we should put it away. And actually a lot of the work I do is more like, oh, well, how could that emotion actually generate power and be fuel for something if, worked with in a useful way, for example, versus just put it away or get rid of it. And if we start talking about things like resilience or health and well-being, there's all kinds of, negative repercussions of just swallowing it, that in fact, if you're learning to work with it more powerfully, it both generates power as well as is better for your health. And that's really, I think, where my work, Guts and Grace, gets into a conversation. It's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a trade-off between success and well-being or the masculine and the feminine, but rather when we learn to work with things at a deeper level, we can have an integration where it all actually works and makes sense and gets us where we'd like to go. And it's not like there's work to be done there.
Yes, absolutely. So share with us about your new book, Guts and Grace. Do you have the book with you? I show the binder or something.
You know what? I'm a new author, but we literally released last week. And I'm new enough and great enough that I didn't bring a copy right here with me to show. So no, I don't.
Okay, just share with us.
It is available on Amazon. It's called Guts and Grace: A Woman's Guide to Full Bodied Leadership. And the book is, it's a handbook. So it's not it's not a book on theory. It's not a book on an idea about leading with guts and grace, or even like my story about how I learned to lead with guts and grace, although certainly there's parts of my stories woven in there. The book is a series of 13 embodied practices, or 13, there's really more than 13 practices, but 13 kinds of practices that can help women lead in these ways that are different. And about half of the book is resilience practices / practices that start to rehabilitate ways we sabotage ourselves. The other half of the book is more practices around getting more deeply tapped into and embodying purpose, as well as being able to communicate in a more inspiring way around what you care about. And I'll say, like, really the work came to be as I was both coaching executives. So I worked for about 10 years at a management consulting and coaching firm. Super young. I was 25 when I started doing that work, but I had a lot of training in human psychology and kind of what makes people tick. And I was coaching a lot of women on teams and just seeing us fall into the same traps over and over again, or fall into the same behaviors that weren't quite working, and making a shift that would then work. At the same time, I was teaching different forms of healing dance in communities, and also learning to work with the body. So using somatics, using embodied leadership tools, and just found that the marriage of that would get women free really fast. So over about 5 years, I put together a curriculum of these 13 kind of principles and practices. And that's what the book is. So literally you could pick up the book. You could go, okay, I'm going to read one chapter a week. I'm going to read one chapter a month, and I'm going to do these practices, and you will start to see something shift and change in your leadership. It'll bring the parts forward that you've been either hiding or maybe not fully embracing. Like, it's just designed to do that.
Wow. So does the book teach us how to move better or dancing better using our body?
Kind of. This is funny. It's a bit outrageous, right? The first chapter, so there's an introduction and a preface, and then chapter 1, the chapter is called The Joy Workouts. And it actually is a chapter that's on how to use movement as a way of bringing joy and aliveness forward. I think in the book, there's a reference to our website where I will start to have more resources. So I have some videos and things on this if you literally want to actually like dance with me or do some of the practices with me. I'll have some downloads in the next couple of months. Like I said, we just released the book, but there is a link inside the book where you can find more tools. But even just by reading the book, I tend to find that if I say, hey, what do you long for? What kind of movement actually would bring you? What are you doing now that maybe doesn't bring you alive or does, right? Sometimes you're like, oh, I'm going to run because I should, and I'm going to get in shape. And then it's like, but really I love to dance. Okay, well, what if you went to a dance class? So the book is going to guide you to find the location for you, which is the place where you'll find more aliveness from a movement perspective. And it's like, I'm still learning. How do you offer somebody something deep through a piece of writing or reading or writing they're going to do in their own home without me there? I do teach classes and love to do this with people live too.
Wow, I'm looking forward to order that book. Now that you hook me. You said, oh
Awesome.
yes, maybe I need that. I need that book to learn more on how to show my grace. Why I have why I'm appear to be gutsy.
Totally. Two things there. One is the reason I start with that is because as an embodiment and embodied leadership practitioner, I find that most of us have like signature habits in how we move. So if somebody like embodies a ton of grace, I'm probably not going to assign them like to do more of that, but I might say like, go take a kickboxing class, like bring out that other side of yourself, right?
Yeah.
And vice versa. And it was pretty outrageous for me to start with that. So this is a book that I'm intending to give to senior executives or folks who run teams and say, hey, your women leaders could benefit from this. And for me, it was like, and we're going to talk about movement and joy in chapter 1. But the truth is that's actually the place where you can get really free really fast. Because when you start to shake something up in your physical system, it's going to challenge you all the way through your mindset, all the way through your behaviors, all the way through your beliefs. It all gets shaken up when you work through the body.
Wow, so wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
So how can we support you? How can we become your champion? Because you are in this organization, in this meeting, right? It's all about ladies. It's all about women entrepreneur. How do people contact you for more information? Share with us.
I appreciate the question. I think at this moment as a new author, one of the best ways that you can support me is if you know other women's groups or you work inside of an organization or have a connection to an organization who might want to receive a talk or a workshop on the Guts and Grace tools. It tends to be super fun. I do an interactive keynote. It's about anywhere from an hour to 2 hours long. And I take people through practices and teach parts of the book. So one way you can support me is let me know, where else I could speak or where else I could bring this work forward. And then also I offer coaching. I run a year-long women's leadership coaching and mastermind program, and I do the work inside of companies. So any referrals, either yourself or someone else who might want to get to know Guts and Grace. Should I show my sign, Kimchi? Great. So Kimchi asked us to make these signs. Can you see it?
I also find your book on Amazon.
You can find the book on Amazon, so that's easy. There's a similarly titled book by another woman who I don't know, who wrote it while we were still in process, or we would have called it what we called it. But my book is white. It'll say LeeAnn Mallorie. And gutsandgrace.com is the website. You can browse around there. There's some free resources and stuff there too.
LeeAnn, do you also talk to, say, teenager girls and your groups that were young women?
I am
I think it
open
would be
to that. I have not done a lot of work with teenagers, to be super transparent, but I do have a feeling that, the book, for example, I've had folks buy the book for their daughter, or for folks who are younger than themselves, or like a mom and a daughter actually read the book together. My experience has been that the next generation coming in, they're so smart, they're so eyes wide open, like they're so self-aware, and I think in some ways probably they need it less than we do as grown-ups, except that they may need a voice that goes, everything you already think about the way it should be in the world is probably true, and don't buy what we're teaching you as adults. I think the book can be permission giving in that way.
All right, so wonderful. Thank you so much, LeeAnn, for sharing. And definitely, we will check out the book. We order through Amazon, and I can't wait until I read more of the book.
Thanks, Kimchi. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, LeeAnn.
All right, Cathy, Dr. Cathy Knight. So share with us what has led you to do what you do, because I know that you have different, your past is a little bit windy, winding, right? Let's go from here to here. So share with us.
Well, I was a little bumfuzzled when you said talk about neurobiofeedback, because that is such a huge topic and probably enough for another session. But the thing I like to tell people about our energetic body is that, we can go through a science book and we can see a picture of our circulatory system, of our respiratory system, our lymphatics. We can see that in diagram, but we cannot see our energetic body. But that's the most important of all, because when our energy field dies, we die. But because we can't see it, I think it's hard for some people to understand that we have it and why it's so important. But there's a number of different types of biofeedback, but quantum biofeedback is different in that it accesses your subconscious mind. Now, 5% of our body's healthy energy is managed by our conscious mind, but 95% is managed by our unconscious mind. And studies show, and I don't know how, but that our subconscious mind, those thoughts that we have that sometimes cripple us, are developed in those first 7 years of life. And we didn't have the experience or knowledge to know how to process these things, these negative ideas. And so we don't even know how to manage things that we don't even know that we have. I also am a firm believer in cell memory. And it's been proven that we inherit issues from our parents, our grandparents at a cellular level. For instance, if we have an ancestor who has unresolved grief or unresolved anger, we inherit that at the cellular level. And again, how do we deal with it if we don't even know where it came from? So that's where neurobiofeedback comes in. And the program that I use is called the Life System. It's a computer-based system that allows me to access people's DNA from all around the world. And it actually connects with their energetic system to identify blocks to their energy flow. And we develop these blocks through illness or trauma, again, inherited things, and they block our flow of energy to our cells, our tissues, our organs, our body systems, and it promotes disease. And so when we use this computer system to break through these blockages, it really helps a person in stress relief. It helps them mentally. And the FDA has actually approved it for stress reduction, stress management, relaxation, and pain management. So I try to explain it to people sometimes, and it's so foreign that a lot of times I'll just tell people it's magic. Just trust me. It's magic. That's all you need to know. So in a nutshell, that's what we do with the neurobiofeedback.
Yeah, are you still doing this?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I do. And I like it because you can serve people all around the world. And I do have a bit of a funny story about that. I had a client who was in Kansas, which is, I don't know how many thousand miles away from me, but she called me one day. She was a hairstylist. And she said, I am so stressed today. I'm so anxious. I just want to smack everybody that I come across. And you can't do that when you're a hairstylist. And she said, can you run biofeedback on me? And I said, you know, I'm really busy. I can't tell you what time I'll be doing that, but I promise you, before the day's over, I'll run feedback on you. Well, I had an opening come up a couple of hours later. I didn't tell her, but I ran biofeedback on her. And she called me when I was about halfway through, and she said, are you running me? And I said, how do you know? And she said, because I was working on this client's hair, and all of a sudden, I just went, whoosh, and I just calmed right down. And my customer looked at me and said, what's going on with you? You've changed. You're not near so stressed and kinetic. And that was the most immediate response that I saw, because she had no idea I was doing it, but she felt the effects. So I know that it works, and I've seen wonderful responses from people. So it's just a joy to me to offer that to my clients.
What's the name of the machine you mentioned?
It's called Life System, L-I-F-E, Life System. It's manufactured in the U.S. and it's registered as a biofeedback device with the FDA. So people can either be in my presence and I can hook them up to electrodes and things, but really that's more for show. I really don't need to have them in front of me. The machine is able to find their DNA anywhere around the world, kind of like cell phone technology, I guess is what I would liken it to. And I can tell when it connects because I have a screen, and I can tell when it doesn't. And the main thing is people need to be well hydrated. Their bodies have to be well hydrated. And the corrections that the computer runs continues for 48 hours. So again, I tell them be really conscious of staying hydrated during that time, because going through the process actually detoxes them to an extent. And so again, they need to be really hydrated to move those toxins out of their body.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I love to experience. How will we experience it if we're wanting a trial session?
Want a session? Well, I guess this would be a good place for me to put up my little sign. Can you see that?
Service. Oh, wow.
Well, the reason for the name Afterbirth Service is because the majority of the work I do is processing placentas. And that's where the name came from, because placenta does mean afterbirth. That's the name for it. But it just became such a good name for other services because we're all living after our birth. So anyway.
I love your sense of humor.
Well, it gets us through sometimes, doesn't it?
So Cathy, read out your contact so that the people, who are listening in, they can hear it.
Oh, is that what you meant?
Read it out as well as post it.
Okay, afterbirthservice@yahoo.com is my email. And my phone number is 517-930-2196. And that's myself. So you can contact me anytime.
And where are you based out of, Cathy?
We're in Michigan, in the U.S. Yep, Michigan.
Great. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's so. Tell us about the placenta encapsulation. That's like what? When I first heard of that, I said what?
And you know, a funny thing. Last week, I was on a Facebook group for natural health, and the man who owns the group posted and said, "Can you believe I just heard that women consume their placenta?" And he was so grossed out. And of course, I jumped all over that one. And he said, "Research shows this is dangerous." And I said, "Show me the research." And of course, he didn't know what he was talking about. But before the conversation was over, he was sold on the use of the placenta. He said, "Honestly, I was ignorant. I had no idea the benefits." But it really is a tremendous gift. If you think about it, women are the only mammals that don't consume their placenta. And one time, I didn't know how animals give birth, but we've had a cat that was having babies. And so I got my 4 little children and I gathered them around to watch. And after the birth, the kitten started eating its placenta. And I'm like, "Oh, for heavens, I didn't know that was going to happen." And the kid said, "Is this what you did after you get?" And I said, "No, your daddy did that." Because I didn't understand. I thought that animals do that to tidy up their space, to prevent, predators from. It's not the case. Those placentas are loaded with their perfect blend of hormones that were needed to support that pregnancy. Also iron and B vitamins and other nutrients that help that animal just jump right back up and care for their babies. And really, it's the same thing for us humans. When mothers consume their placenta, and I have seen this hundreds of times, we've done this for 11 years, they have more energy, they have better milk supply. And probably the biggest reason women come to us is because they're trying to avoid postpartum depression, which is a huge problem for some reason. And we've never had a client with postpartum depression because the hormones in that placenta are her own perfect blend to help balance her back out after she's had that baby. We've had husbands who call their wives' placenta capsules their happy pills. And one husband told me he always knows when her wife hasn't used her capsules. And he'll say, "Have you had your happy pills today?" Because without them, her mood just goes down. So much stress after that baby. So that's why I'm a firm believer in placenta encapsulation. And we also offer a tincture made from their placenta so that they can have the benefit of their hormones through their lifetime. That one placenta will serve them then. So when they go through menopause, they don't need synthetic hormones. That is still their perfect blend. So it's really quite an amazing organ. And I don't care who processes their placenta. I just want them to do it. I just think it's heartbreaking when mothers throw them away.
Yeah, and the hospitals, a lot of them just throw away the placentas. And people don't know about it, so they don't know to ask to bring it back home. And,
right.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Cathy. So the capsules, can you keep them for a long time? Like as long as the tinctures? So what's the difference between capsules and tincture?
Well, the tincture is preserved in vodka, so as long as it's not overheated, it's going to stay it's going to stay good forever until it's gone. And some, we don't advocate this, but I know there's women who order an extra tincture to give to their mother because their mother is probably going through menopause at that time, and it is as close to her own placenta as she can get. So, so some women do that as well. But as far as the capsules, usually a woman will need them for the first 5 or 6 weeks. And if she has some left, we tell her to put them in the freezer. The refrigerator would add moisture. We don't ever advocate that, but put it in the freezer. And then if she has to go back to work, if she's going through a tremendous loss, some emotional imbalance, we tell her, get those capsules out and pop 1 or 2 of them and help balance yourself back out again. So it is the gift that keeps on giving.
Wow, well, women definitely need to know this, and
That's amazing.
yeah, even though Chinese medicine also have been using the placenta, and actually that's one of Chinese medicine actually is being used, but it's not well known information.
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that, because when we started 11 years ago, it was really foreign and people thought we were crazy. And my daughter-in-law had heard about it. So when she gave birth at home, my son delivered the baby, so there was no midwife to help, but they were well trained themselves. So she had known that some midwives have a mother after delivery pop just a little bit of the placenta. They cut off the raw placenta and she slams it and swallows some drink if she's having hemorrhage after birth, and it stops the hemorrhaging. That happened to my daughter-in-law, and she came to me about an hour after birth and said, I am bleeding so much, and her face was white and she was getting a little shocky. So we had her slam a little piece of that placenta, and I'm not kidding you, her color came right back, and she had so much energy, you would never dream she'd had a baby. So she continued to use her placenta that way until it was gone, and I've never, ever seen anyone with that much energy. You would never know she'd had a baby. So then we said, we need to find out more about this and offer it to other women. So that began our search, and we actually ended up learning all that we knew by following traditional Chinese methods for preserving the placenta. And now that's what all encapsulators do. They use the traditional Chinese method, which means steaming it very gently with specific herbs, and then very, very gently dehydrating it to preserve the nutrients, and then putting it in capsules. So it's kind of a lengthy process, but our clients love us.
Well, thank you for what you're doing, Cathy. That's very important, for postpartum depression is one of the biggest issue with women's health because of all the medication, the shots given during the childbirth process.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
and the
really
stress.
Natural solution for that.
Yes. Women today are under so much stress, so much pressure, and it breaks my heart. But that's one reason why I'm really thankful to learn about this All Ladies League, because any forum when we can support each other and help each other and educate each other and share resources, it's so important. I'm just so thankful for what you women do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cathy. Yeah, it's you know, when you share, I say, oh, I wish that I just had a baby. So I wish I knew this before I have a baby. And now my baby is like 31, 32 years old now. So what can I do about it? And I'm in like a menopause, right? So what can women like me do about our hormone?
Well, my daughter was probably 35 and unmarried. And I kept telling her, because she had this long list of qualities she needed for a future husband. And finally I said, your clock is ticking. You need to lower your expectations a little bit. And she said, you just want my placenta. And I said, yes, I do. Honestly, I do want your placenta. So perhaps your daughter will still give you a placenta. And she has since married that wonderful man with that long list of qualities, but no placenta yet. But you and I talked about that before, and everyone's different. So the things that worked for me may not work for you, but there are natural solutions for hormone balance. We don't need to go to synthetic hormones. Yeah, there's other things we can do more naturally to support us as we get older. But look at you. You're a good example of just getting better. You're my hero, Kimchi. I think you're wonderful, and the things you do are just wonderful for the women of the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cathy. Now, let me introduce Dr. Janet Burns. Doctor, thank you for patiently waiting. Let's share with us what has led you to do what you do.
Well, it's been fascinating to hear about my fellow ALL members, Dr. Cathy and LeeAnn. So it wasn't a wait. It was super educational, awesome experience. And I'm fortunate to have these people as colleagues. Cathy, what part of Michigan are you in?
Central Michigan, Stanton.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Michigan?
I used to practice in Alma.
Oh, you're so close to me at the time. Your Alma's very close to Stanton.
Okay. No, I loved it. I used to be a family doctor, delivered babies out in rural Michigan, and I absolutely loved it.
Aw, bless you for that.
Yeah. Actually, one of my classmates in medical school is almost over 25 years ago. I heard about them cooking the placenta after the baby and thinking, that's kind of interesting. And she explained why. So it makes total sense. I'm glad I learned about it a long time ago. But, no placentas of my own to take advantage of. It's funny, most people want the grandkid, but you want the placenta. Just kidding. Humor is healing, so I employ humor with my patients.
Good for
anyway,
you.
To get back to the question, what led me to do what I do? Well, on the biggest scale, what led me to become an osteopath was having my mom basically taken out of my life at age 12 from a very bad car accident and a whiplash. And the doctors couldn't do anything for her. And the only thing that helped her was chiropractic, which helped up to a point. So I grew up, learning about medicine and manipulation and, quote, believing in both. And as I got older, I wanted to help people. I was clearly led to be in the healing professions. And I wanted to have the abilities of the chiropractor because I knew that it helped people that regular medicine couldn't, but I also wanted to deliver babies and be like Marcus Welby. So I didn't know about osteopathy till I got into graduate school in exercise science. So I'd gone to a path of, I'd given up on being a doctor because I wanted to get into prevention. And at the time, we're talking like over 30 years ago, it wasn't a medical specialty. Integrative medicine didn't really exist in a well-known sense. It was an underground movement at the time. So when I heard that I could have the best of both worlds, I actually quit graduate school and went to medical school to be an osteopathic physician because I needed to have the combination of using my hands to find and fix the things that wouldn't show up on an X-ray or a CAT scan or an MRI. Give people their life back.
So what kind of symptoms does one have that you think that would need your expertise?
Well, there's two answers to that. One is you don't have to have any symptoms. If you're just crooked at all, all right? If you're crooked, then your body is being stressed. Like a car that's hit a pothole and hasn't had the front end alignment, the parts wear out faster. And our research has shown that even if you don't have pain at the conscious level, being crooked causes this annoying signal from your spinal cord into your brain, and you release the stress hormones. Most people, I think, are starting to hear about cortisol now, the fat belly hormone. When you're stressed and you make cortisol, you store all your calories as fat. It turns your body almost into a pre-type 2 diabetic state. And it's very bad to be stressing your body all the time and to have it in what we call sympathetic overdrive or fight or flight. So you're never really relaxing even when you're not doing anything strenuous. So being crooked at all is a good reason to have manual therapies to straighten you out so you can be more efficient. Also, it costs you more energy per day to walk around crooked, to sit crooked, to do your daily activities crooked. You're less efficient. So it's like getting a tune-up gives you better gas mileage for your car. Getting your body tuned up gives you better gas mileage for the energy you have, so you have more energy left at the end of the day to do what you really want to do. The other thing is, if you have any pain anywhere, an osteopath can work on it. Because we're fully licensed physicians and surgeons, we can work with the outside of the body, the inside of the body. So with my training, I work with not just the bones and the spine. I can manipulate any bone in your body. I can work on nerves. I can move organs. I work with traumatic brain injuries. I work with women before labor, during labor, and after labor to help the baby so that everyone lines up right. As a matter of fact, we had a big study done in the Texas school where women had osteopathic manipulative treatment during their pregnancy, and there was a statistical decrease in preterm labor, preeclampsia, use of forceps or vacuum, things that are potentially life-saving but also can deform the baby's head and cause trauma to the mom.
Wow, fascinating. So let's see, somebody come to see you, and so you say you don't need any machine to diagnose what's going on with that person, right? How do you use your hands to diagnose when the X-ray or the scan machine cannot?
Well, as fully licensed physicians, we use everything at our disposal. If a patient comes to me and has an MRI or an X-ray, we can read that. But what we're looking for is tissue tension cannot be measured by these devices. Slight crookedness of bones is not going to show up on an X-ray. And so, during our medical school, we learn everything that the MDs learn, and we get extra hundreds of hours in learning to use our hands to find first big problems, big crookednesses, and then over time we learn to find more and more subtle tensions in tissues, very small amounts of things that are out of alignment. For example, we did a study when I worked at Ohio, and people are able to distinguish tenths of a millimeter of difference with their hands. Our nervous systems are very, very highly sensitive, and with the specialized training, it gets even better. So in a sense, I don't even need to know where it hurts. My body will find out where these things are not moving properly or out of alignment. And we go a lot by motion. Osteopaths are about restoring motion. That's our big thing, because if you're not moving properly, movement is life. And we express ourselves on this planet through movement, through our musculoskeletal system.
Okay. So let's say I come to see you, right? And you're talking about movement, right? So you tell me to move my head, to move my shoulder, to move my arm, wrists and hip and things like that, so that you would know which area I have problem. Is that correct?
That's the first level of screening, to see grossly if there is a movement issue. I also just watch people, how they get up and out of their wheelchair, how they walk down the hallway. But then you could just be laying totally still, and I would still find things, because there's the subtle intrinsic rhythmic movement of the organs. And if anyone's heard about craniosacral work, we call it osteopathy in cranial field. The head moves a tiny amount. It's not a lot. It's kind of like the way a house creaks in the wind, but it doesn't come apart. But if that physiologic or naturally intended movement isn't there, you have problems like migraines, tinnitus, sinuses clogged. I mean, subtle movement. So we can feel those things even when you're just laying still.
Wow. Amazing.
I have really
Anyone
good
have a
teachers.
question? Question to Dr. Janet here?
Hi. Hi, Janet. Good to see you again.
Yes, good to see you too, Lisa.
Yeah. Actually, you mentioned you deliver babies and you
I used
mentioned
to.
about the crap. You used to, yeah, right.
Yeah. Now I'm just
Yeah.
neuromusculoskeletal specialist entirely, and a mentor. I'm a nationally certified mentor.
Yeah. I just happened to have a client yesterday come to me. She had her head taken out with a clamp when during her birth, and so as a result, her whole left side of the body is smaller than the right side. The growth of her hand and her leg are just less developed than the right side. And so how do you help people like that to perhaps can the deficits be regained back to a certain degree through exercise?
On the one hand, never say never. Never give up hope. Nothing is impossible. You know, miracle cures happen all the time. So I never want to limit my patients because I don't just work with them physically. I work with them mind, body, spirit, and emotion. When the head is crooked, it makes the rest of the body crooked. And that's the secret to how our profession is able to reverse scoliosis. And one of my pet projects is to get children as soon as I can after they're born to straighten their heads out so they don't have helmets, which are sort of treating the symptom but not really dealing with the root cause. So, you know, I don't heal anyone. I'm a healing facilitator because the body, everyone in this panel knows, and including yourselves, that the body has the wisdom to heal itself. The body is smarter than any doctor, which I'm probably going to get labeled a heretic for saying by the profession, but it really is. And so when you can tap into the body's healing force, I always recommend my patients go to acupuncture as well. We get the head straightened out, we get the body straightened out, and then the body starts to grow itself straight. So this is a process that can take some time, but when you can get to the root cause of why they're crooked, and like I said, our profession very much has this cranial, you know, we brought cranial to the Western world, and when you get that out there, that really gets the body really starting to move and the hormones flowing and the life force going in the whole body. But something else I do is my coaching. I coach my patients as a mentor. I tell them to stop saying they have a problem, to visualize, like a life coach, what they would be like able to do if they were healthy, because they have as big a role to play in their health as I do. I don't fix people. I don't have powerless people and they say, oh, doctor, you're responsible for fixing me. I ask all my patients if they're ready to heal before we even start, because they've got to wanna, as my coaches say. And then the other thing I do is I found that no matter how good I got, I had fantastic training, props to all my teachers and mentors, but I got to a point where the physical skills weren't enough and I was running into people where they weren't getting as well as they could. And that drove me, along with a car accident, to discover memory energy therapy and do memory makeovers on people, because the energy, as Cathy and LeeAnn were saying, the energy of the trauma or injuries was stored in their tissues, and it was causing physical pain that nothing could help. You know, drugs, surgery, even manipulation. And so I work with people on all levels, and I teach them a technique that empowers them for life. It's a tool they can do on themselves, and they can neutralize a painful memory in about a minute, sometimes less. And it works at the epigenetic level. I mean, Bruce Lipton has looked at this technique, and he's called it epigenetics at its best. So it's working at the DNA level, the mind, body, spirit, emotion level, but the person doesn't have to relive traumatic memories over and over by going to, say, like sessions with someone for weeks or months or years. So it's a complete package.
Well, how do people find you, Janet?
Well, thank you. Well, I actually, the other thing is I've had a passion for getting, stopping people dying from opioids. And I've been fortunate enough to work with Vital Total Health Medical Group in Walnut Creek. And this group of amazing practitioners, we're looking to help people who want to get well and get off their medicines or decrease their medicines by getting to the root cause of their problem. And so I work with a group of MDs, acupuncture, counseling, psychiatry, and we manage people 360 degrees to help decrease the pain, because you don't just take the medicine away from someone who needs it, but what my MD colleagues have found is that, again, there's reasons that people have pain that haven't been able to been found by their profession, and that's why they brought me on board to add that piece to the puzzle. And so I'm able to find things that actually can be helped and pain be decreased or eliminated, and people gladly give up the drugs when the actual pain is diminished. And so we're getting people off of potentially life-threatening drugs and helping them get their life back. I'm very grateful to be with this group.
Janet, just say out loud the group that you are working with and the phone number.
Yes. Vital Total Health Medical Group in Walnut Creek, California. And our number is 925-388-9800.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we take insurance.
Oh, yay.
It's extremely unusual for people in my profession to take insurance, and for high-level private clinics that look at you as a whole person and aren't just prescription farms to also take insurance. So this is the way we're getting to people that really need it. So Medicare and most private insurances.
Well,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Thank
And-
you. It is a fascinating information today. Our guests contribute a lot. And I have learned a lot.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Cathy, Janet, and LeeAnn. And thank you to my co-host, Lisa. We are looking forward to get this video uploaded to YouTube, and I encourage you to share it on your website, on your social media, because I think the information today is extremely helpful for all women out there, including men too, you know. Well, if they are married, yes, it will be beneficial for them, right? So, yes, any last word that you have before we end the meeting today?
Thank you, Kimchi. This has been wonderful to see what others are doing as well, and I just appreciate being part of this. Thank you, Kimchi and Lisa.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you, Kimchi and Lisa, for making this possible and helping women everywhere. And again, I want to put a prop in for Lisa. Dr. Lisa Wong is an amazing acupuncturist, and she also treats scoliosis. So all I can say is if every baby got treated after they were born, either by someone who knew craniosacral work, I've worked with doulas that are trained in that, osteopaths are trained in that, there's anyone who's trained in craniosacral work, get your baby to someone like that if they have a crooked head. Get their baby to someone like that as soon as they're born, because I am seeing the human wreckage in decades afterwards, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, of untreated scoliosis, and that is unnecessary pain and suffering for people, and it affects the person, it affects their family, it causes repercussions through everything, because if you don't feel good, how can you be the best wife, mother, partner, teacher? You know, how can you be your best you when you have chronic pain and you're struggling?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I see here is a collaboration, right? Now, you know, Cathy, you know, Janet, what does she do? What does she do, right? In the future, you run through somebody who happened to live in the Bay Area of California, and you can say, okay, come to talk to Janet, Dr. Janet, or vice versa. Janet knows some women about to deliver baby, and you know she's concerned about her hormone or something. Say, hey, contact Cathy. Cathy do an amazing thing with this placenta encapsulation, as well as biofeedback thing, the miracle thing that she's gonna do virtually. I'm looking, I will talk to you offline. I say, what? I didn't know that. It's amazing. And Lisa, she's an acupuncture, but she doesn't use needle at all. It's for people who are not who are afraid of needle. She has a special special way to work with people who are afraid of needle, but she makes things work. And her her nonprofit is really, really great. She's passionate about vegan. I'm not there yet, Lisa. You know, all I'm doing right now is like doing my best to be a vegetarian 4 days a month. That's the best I can do for now. Okay.
Thank you for considering and yeah, doing the best you can.
Yeah, but Lisa is also very connected in the nonprofit world. So I think, you know, now that she know each of you, there's a potential that if she know, you know, something somewhere that might look for might be looking for a speaker in that area, she might contact you. Okay, so
Absolutely.
Cathy, be ready to fly to California and talk about these things, right?
That would be
And
wonderful. And Janet, I'm just so much appreciate what you do. It was wonderful to hear how you use your skills. I just appreciate you.
Oh, well, I appreciate you. When I learned that they were doing the encapsulation, I was like very impressed. I mean, scientifically, it makes perfect sense.
It does.
And the energetic work, energy medicine is the last frontier of Western medicine. We've been too stuffy about it for far too long. I mean, 5,000 years ago, they had acupuncture in China, and, you know, people don't use something if it doesn't work. But because we couldn't prove how it worked, it prolonged opening the West to energy medicine.
Yes.
And I've benefited from treatments such as yours. So I wanted to tell everybody it's totally legit. It's safe. It works because you are energy. You are nothing but atoms that vibrate, and vibration is energy. And like I said, as well trained as I am, and as I've been doing this for over 25 years, I ran into blocks where physical medicine wasn't enough, and the energy part of it, legitimate energy part of it was the breakthrough for people.
Yeah. Well, I just want to honor you to Dr. Janet and Dr. Cathy, really, for the work you guys do and the message you spread to people that we are our best doctor, and we do everything what we can to support that doctor within us, and that doctor will take care of us, right? So I am, well, alongside with you, singing the same song to everyone, and so I'm just so grateful that you're here with us. And thank you, Kimchi, for starting this and making this available to women all over the world and men to really get the education they need to take care of their health.
Yes.
thank you. Bye now.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.